Boo! And welcome back to more Films Under Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some eerie, some scary, and some downright hilarious. I'm Bongo Boy. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our Crypt Keeper Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week we're taking a look at the 2018 film Halloween and the 2021 film Halloween Kills.
Oh shit, was it the Crypt Keeper said, "Hello, ghouls and boils," or something like that? I've never been called the Crypt Keeper before, so... boils and ghouls. Anyway, whatever. I've only seen like one episode of that show. Halloween, not to be confused with Halloween, the John Carpenter movie.
Halloween.
Or Halloween, the Rob Zombie movie. This is Halloween, the one that was released on October 19th, 2018. Directed by David Gordon Green.
Yay.
Which is very strange that he ended up doing this.
Yeah.
As you look at his other credits, like Pineapple Express, Your Highness. God, that was a bad movie.
Just looking at the posters of some of these movies.
The Sitter. Do you remember that one with Jonah Hill? That was not a good movie. Manglehorn. Any late era Al Pacino fans out there? There you go. I mentioned Manglehorn. And he also directed. He also directed Exorcist Believer. Jeez.
And I heard that one was a just disaster of a film.
It was really bad, but there were parts of it I laughed so hard at. So one of his funniest movies wasn't even a comedy. So but yeah, so they were like, oh yeah, let's get the guy that made those to do a Halloween movie, and then let's get him to do some Exorcist movies, apparently.
He's the perfect fit. What are you talking about?
Although Exorcist Believer was so bad, we might not even get any other ones, so who knows.
Oof.
So, Halloween, the 2018 one, cost $10 million.
That is cheap.
That's not that cheap if you compare to the other Halloween movies, though, I don't think.
Yeah, no, compared to the other Halloween movies, that's, like, probably the most expensive one. I don't know how much the Rob Zombie ones cost.
I mean, I'd imagine that most of that money just went to getting Jamie Lee Curtis back.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The Rob Zombie Halloween was $15 million.
This is, like, barely more expensive. I mean, yeah, it didn't really... I can't imagine that one costing that much outside of, we gotta get these cast members and... Hey, here's a Rush song. Stuff like that. Okay. But yeah, Halloween 2018 cost $10 million and made $259.9 million.
That's pretty good.
Not adjusted for inflation, it's the highest grossing slasher film of all time. As well as the highest grossing Halloween movie, obviously. So this was written by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, who we have had on the podcast before in an acting role, because he's in
oh, really?
Alien Covenant.
Oh!
What an awful movie.
What a weird connection.
And Jeff Bradley. Who the hell is that?
Jeff doesn't even have a Wikipedia article.
No, the other Jeff does.
Oh, he was on I guess he was a producer for Righteous Gemstones.
But yeah, I looked at his IMDb page. There wasn't much there. This is our first Blumhouse movie.
Yeah, that's true. We could do more.
I don't
We
know.
could do Five Nights at Freddy's.
Looking at this list, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do more of these.
Are you sure you don't want to do all of the Insidious films?
Is that the one? Wait, is that the one with that weird devil mask guy?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I might. I think I only saw the first one, and it was. Yeah. They did Sinister. I'm always I'm always
I don't
getting
think it's
Insidious and Sinister confused. I can't
Ah.
separate. Anyway, I guess they did.
They also did
Get Out and Split.
They also did Split. Yeah.
So they've done a few movies that aren't bad. Five Nights at Freddy's, you mentioned. We're not doing the Paranormal Activity movies though. Just don't force me to watch those. Anyway, oh wait, Black Klansman and Whiplash.
What a weird studio.
Yeah. But hey, we did A20. We did an A24 movie. I guess it was only a matter of time for doing a Blumhouse movie as well.
That's true.
The music was done by John Carpenter.
Yeah. My favorite.
That name sounds a little familiar.
How many of his movies have we done by this point?
Oh God. Let's see. We did Escape from New York, Escape from LA, Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3. That'd be like 6 at this point. Oh wait, no, sorry. I forgot about Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness, The Thing.
Oh, but he didn't do the
Not the
music for the.
Madness.
He didn't do the music for the thing.
No.
But as far as the music goes, I think this is like 7th time.
He's trying to compete there with John Williams.
I don't think he did the music for In the Mouth of Madness, did he?
I think he did.
Because then if we include that... Okay, yeah, if we include that, this would be like 8 times as a composer.
Wow.
Jeez. Or 7 or 8 times. And he shared the music credit with Cody Carpenter, who I believe is his son. Yes, his son. And Daniel Davies. I don't know who that is.
He's done a lot of work with John Carpenter.
He's on the soundtrack of I, Frankenstein, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, the music for Firestarter.
When are we doing that movie?
The new Firestarter movie. Which one? I, Frankenstein? We're not doing that.
Yeah, I, Frankenstein, and then the Dracula one that they also did.
If I watched that, I didn't finish it.
That's fair.
It was really bad. And then do you mean Dracula Untold?
Yeah, Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I barely remember that movie. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, they did the music. The cast. Jamie Lee Curtis is in this, which let's see. This would be her 6th time on the podcast. Wait.
It's Halloween 1 and 2. She had a cameo in Escape from New York.
Wait a second, I might have miscounted one. Oh, this would be her 7th, actually. I forgot about True Lies.
Did you remember Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Everything Everywhere All at Once, Escape from New York, voice cameo. Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, another voice cameo, and True Lies. So that's, counting this, that'd be 7. So this is 7th time on the podcast. That's insane. Most of those are because, well, she's in the Halloween movies. So she's in.
Yeah.
She's in so many of them. Like, If we ever did H2O and Resurrection, that would just add even more. But I don't want to sit through Resurrection again.
Please, no, don't make me go through those.
H2O, that one was boring. I don't want to watch that one again either. Will Patton. We had him in Armageddon.
Oh, wow.
And the 2004 Punisher. He played one of the villains in that.
Oh.
And he's also the main villain in The Postman, the Kevin Costner vanity project.
I like that you're implying that Kevin Costner's new 4-part Western he was trying to do wasn't his vanity project.
Well, The Postman was kind of a 4-hour Western, so...
That's fair.
It's like 3 hours long. And if I remember right, I think it was Gene Siskel in his review of it, he thought it was... He thought the ending of it was so ego-stroking, he called it Dances with Myself, which was making fun of the fact Kevin Costner directed and starred in Dance with Wolves, so...
Yeah.
I'm not getting off topic, sorry. I did do a review of The Postman a long time ago, but it didn't turn out that great. Nick Castle appears in this as...
Yep.
There's a few scenes where he plays Michael Myers, which would be the first time he's played him since the original movie. Although they replaced him with this other guy for most of it.
Yeah, I imagine for a lot of the action scenes they wanted somebody else.
I'm trying to remember his name.
James Jude Courtney.
Toby Huss, which I only bring him up because I looked at his filmography and first thing I saw on there was Zadar, Cow from Hell.
Which we've talked about doing before. Maybe it's time.
Maybe. Who knows? Because apparently you, don't you, live near where they filmed that?
Yeah, I live, right by where they filmed everything.
That's funny. PJ Souls has a cameo, which she played Linda in the first movie. Okay. Initial thoughts. You can unless you have anything to add about the cast. I guess not.
I guess just to mention the other two main characters, we have Judy Greer as Karen, who's supposed to be Laurie's daughter, and Andy Matichak as Laurie's granddaughter.
Yeah, you'll get used to seeing them in the next two.
Yeah, especially Andy, who plays Allison. All right, so my initial thoughts.
Okay, because you saw this before I did, I think.
I might have. So
you told me about it.
Story.
You were telling me about it, and then I ended up watching it. But anyway, sorry, we can get into that.
So basically, the freshman year of college, me and my friends sat down and watched all the Friday the 13th movies for the first time. And that was just an absolute blast because those movies, they just get so stupid so fast, and it's just such a fun time. And so we're like, hey, next year let's try and do all the Halloween movies because none of us had ever watched those before. So we watched Halloween, and we had heard that they were coming out with a new Halloween film, so we'll watch all of them and then get prepared to go see the new one in theaters. So we watched the first Halloween, we're like, that was awesome. Watched the second one, we're like, that was okay. Watched the third one. We all kind of liked it, but we're like, that was really weird. And then we watched the fourth.
So did you see this one in theaters then?
That's what I'm getting to. Because we watched the fourth and the fifth and the sixth, and they were all just getting worse and worse and worse, and we just weren't enjoying them at all. Until finally we watched H2O. And we finished that, and it was so bad that we decided we just didn't care. about Halloween, and so we never went to watch this in theaters. So we gave up, and then this movie came to theaters, and it left. We never saw it, and then a couple months later, I was just sitting around at home, and I was just kind of bored, and I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and I'll just watch it because I was still kind of curious about it. And so my initial thought back then watching it was that it was, as far as Halloween sequels go, pretty good. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the original, but I still enjoyed watching it, which was very different from my experience with like the rest of the Halloween sequels at that point. So this is my first time watching it since maybe like 2019. Uh, I kind of went in with these expectations, and my opinion of the movie hasn't really changed much compared to a lot of the sequels. It's not. It's a lot better than most of the other sequels, and I might have to rewatch it, but I might put it at about the same level, or maybe even slightly above, as Halloween 2. Uh, it does stick a little too closely to the original Halloween at points, but I think I just got more enjoyment out of this movie than I think the rest of the
To
Halloween
be
sequels.
fair, Halloween 2 kind of retread some of it as well.
Yeah.
Or, is that
Yeah, that's my initial thoughts.
I guess I could have watched Morbius for the 6th time. So, um, so the first time I saw this, this was after I remember you texting me and like you were telling me, oh, like Halloween the 2018 one, it's pretty good. You know, it's one of the better Halloween movies. So after you said that, I decided to watch it, and I remember not being that impressed with it the first time I saw it, but that's partly because I hadn't seen any of the Halloween movies in a long time.
Hmm.
So I kind of forgot how bad some of the other ones were until I did, like, I was just rewatching a bunch of them one year, and so when I ended up watching that one again, I was like, you know what, yeah, this is one of the better ones. Especially if you compare it to shit like Halloween 6 or like Halloween Resurrection or the Rob Zombie ones. I mean, Jesus Christ. So when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, this is decent, not amazing. One of the better Halloween sequels. And on this watch, my opinion, yeah, it's about the same. I think this should have been a standalone movie. There was really no reason to do more after this, but
I'm honest. I'll wait until we get to kills before I talk about that
it made money,
ends.
so of course we're gonna get more of these. And hell, we'll probably get more of them after ends. So
Yeah, no. I'm putting my money down right now. The next Halloween movie is going to continue after ends, and it's just going to be called Halloween Forever. It's gonna be about a cult that worships Michael Myers. That's living in Haddonfield. That's what I'm betting the next movie is gonna be.
I know another one you said was like, another suggested title you had was like Halloween Lives or something like that.
It's actually I forgot about that. I'm going with that title. Halloween Lives is so much better.
Halloween Forever is pretty funny though, because that kind of reminds me of Batman Forever. You know,
They're gonna do it in 20 years and still get Jamie Lee Curtis to come back.
Halloween Forever. What is that, like a threat or something? Jeez. But yeah, watching it again, it's fine. Like, it's perfectly watchable. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's a good Halloween movie. You know, it's like it's one of the better sequels. I would say, yeah, it's probably about on par with Halloween 2, you know, which I enjoyed Halloween 2 more than you did, so that's slightly higher praise coming from me. But like, it's a decent enough movie. If what you want is more of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, you get it in this one. So
Perfect. Exactly.
don't get it in the next two, but you get it in this one.
You get so much else in the next two.
We will get to the next one eventually, and the one after that. Okay.
I guess my last little opening remark for the 2018 Halloween is there's honestly not a whole lot to talk about with this one.
I have some stuff. I mean, it's a Halloween.
Yeah.
It's a.
I've got some things too, but
mainly what I have written down is Michael kills someone, but stuff like that. Because I think that's what this got right, is they got Michael Myers right again. He's actually threatening in this one again, which is nice to see. It feels like before this, it had been a long time since you'd actually had that, because Halloween Resurrection was stupid.
The whole weird cult plot in 4, 5, and 6 was bad.
Yeah, mainly in 5 and 6. In 4, not the cult stuff isn't really a huge deal. But the mask looks weird in that one. For some reason, they couldn't get the mask right for a while, but this one they finally did.
Yeah.
And then again, you got Laurie Strode back, so the story of this one. So what's interesting about this one is it ignores the events of all the movies after John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yes. Which I think was probably the right choice, but it also makes looking at a timeline really funny.
I feel like you could technically include the second one in there, but under the caveat that they were lying to Laurie Strode about Or you could look at it as like this weird parallel dimension Halloween sequel. I don't know.
That's kind of how I look at it, because I guess this more so gets into Halloween Kills, but there's like some scenes in that where it feels like they tried to remake Halloween 2 a little bit to actually fit within the current timeline.
But basically, Michael is not Laurie Strode's brother in this movie.
No.
There's like somebody says like, oh, that was just a rumor or something like that.
Yeah.
So Michael Myers is being transferred to another asylum, I guess.
And surprise, surprise, he also breaks out of this asylum.
Because he's Michael Myers, he of course escapes again. That could have been the tagline. Could have been the night he came home again. Wasn't that like the tagline for the second one? It was like,
no, the second one was more of the night he came home.
Yeah, it was more of the night he came home. That's right.
Would that then be the tagline for Halloween Kills? More of the night he came home again.
Again. Jeez.
Halloween ends as more after the night he came home again a year later.
Oh my god. Okay, look.
It just keeps getting more and more complicated.
I know, it'd be ridiculous. But yeah, so Michael escapes again, heads back to his hometown again.
And goes on a killing spree again.
A killing speed. Well, he probably was speeding in that car, because apparently he could still drive.
Yeah, never gonna explain that, but yeah, he could just drive.
Okay, I did rewatch the first 2 movies and the fourth one. I rewatched those ones, and they do mention in the first movie that somebody, like Dr. Loomis, makes some comment that somebody at the asylum must have taught him how to drive. So they do. They kind of explain it and kind of don't in the first movie. So there is that.
Because they didn't ask the question of why. I guess
I
if you're going by 4, 5, and 6 logic, the cult taught him to drive. But again, why teach him how to drive?
I don't know. Okay, so but yeah, Laurie Strode, she's still traumatized by being stalked and almost killed by Michael Myers, and decides to prepare for his return to Haddonfield.
Which, for some reason, she knows is happening.
Or she just knew that it was going to happen again at some point. She might as well prepare for it. Maybe it's... I guess they kind of turned her into Sarah Connor in this one a
They
bit.
really did.
Like in if you remember Terminator 2. Most people remember it, to be fair. Okay, so the pros.
I think, honestly, we could start off with something you already mentioned. They get Michael Myers right in this movie.
They do, yeah. Like, because for some reason, most of the sequels, his mask looks weird. I don't know why.
Like, they look really derpy, especially that Halloween 4 mask.
4 and 5, the masks really weren't.
It looks so bad. I just googled a picture of it again.
I don't know why the 1 and 5 looks so weird, like with the hair and the... What the hell? Yeah. But yeah, in this one they finally are like, okay, let's just make it look like what it looked like in the first 2 movies, because it was already fine, you know, it was just, hey, let's just spray paint a Captain Kirk mask, that's creepy, you know, except it looks like old and kind of beat up now, because it's 40 years later,
which
you know.
Makes sense.
But, like, Michael Myers is actually threatening in this one again, which is nice.
He feels like a force of nature.
He's so ridiculously strong in this one. Like, it was
and not only that, he, like, shifts the air around him. Like, that intro scene at the asylum, when he's on the roof and they pull out his mask and all the other inmates start going crazy. As if they feel like the evil coming back into the world.
And that scene's interesting too, because it's one of the few parts where we actually see Michael Myers without his mask on. And he just looks like an old... It's in the asylum. Yeah. I mean, they have him like with like a ball and a chain, you know, just like so he doesn't move. Although that's probably not going to stop Michael Myers. Considering what we know.
He'd probably beat someone to death with it, knowing what Michael does in the sequels to this.
But yeah, we see what Michael Myers looks like in this one. He just looks like an old guy with a beard.
They do try and kind of obfuscate him a little bit, because like you only see it from like really far away or close-ups of his body with just like the corner of his face in shot.
But really, all you need to do is just look up a picture of Nick Castle, and that's like...
Pretty much. Probably and then you know what he looks like.
Yeah. Because you do briefly see what he looks like in the first one. He's a little bit deformed in that. I guess he's not anymore. That's kind of weird. He still never talks. I guess at this point, would he even be able to? Because it's been 40 years.
And not to mention how many times he got shot after the first movie.
But they do say in this that, like, he can talk, but just chooses not to.
Yeah.
I guess he just doesn't have much to say at this point, so... Or maybe he does say stuff, but it's just really... just nondescript, so...
Or maybe it's just what he says in the Rob Zombie one.
Die! Yeah, that was so... Die! Technically, that wasn't in the theatrical cut. I think that was only in the director's cut. It was still a dumb scene, whatever it was. But yeah, there were parts of this that were like actually creepy. You know, it's been a while since there was a Halloween movie, where Michael Myers was scary. I mean, he kills a fucking kid in cold blood in this movie.
Oh. His like first big kill when he kills like the gas station mechanic and then the two podcasters. It's actually a really tense scene when it builds up to it, because like you see.
Are you talking about the part in the bathroom?
Yes, because you see him walk in the bathroom, standing in front of the woman's stall, and then it cuts back, and you see the mechanic with like this deformed jaw, missing all of his teeth. Cuts back to the bathroom with him dropping the teeth into her stall. It is such a just intimidating scene.
I mean, yeah, where he's like, when he's like stalking her, like when she's like hiding in the stalls. God, that was intense. Like that's Michael Myers right there. Yeah. And this is before he even has the mask. Like he doesn't even have the mask yet, and he's still terrifying. And he like smashes a dude's face in the wall and into the stall doors. A lot of his, I was noticing that in these movies, a lot of Michael's kills are just him like slamming people's faces into stuff, or like
like he's got the one kid that he just stabs his head through like a fence to kill him.
It's ridiculous. He doesn't even need weapons. He's already strong enough. I mean, he like broke a kid's neck in cold blood earlier. Jesus.
It's funny, like, because like this film, like there's a couple good kills in it. Nothing really stands out, but like he gets so brutal in like the sequels to this.
Yeah, they get even more ridiculous when we get to. I can't wait to talk about some of what happens in kills or ends.
I know,
but I like that. Again, I like the depiction of Michael in that. He's very imposing. They got the costume right because it's basically the same costume from the first two movies, except a little older and beaten up.
Dirtier.
Yeah, it's older and beaten up, which I guess makes sense. He's old and he likes beating people up in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're doing. Again, he feels like a boogeyman in this. Again, he feels like a force of nature. He
just shows up, he kills people, and he walks to the next house.
And just scenes of him walking are scary too. Like there was this one part where he like looks through a window and you see the reflection of his mask, and then he sneaks around the back of the house and comes in and like kills this woman like it's nothing. Like the shot of him sneaking around the back was just so creepy.
Yeah,
because you see his shadow on another house. I guess that's kind of talking about camera work as well. They did a good job shooting this,
Oh yeah, it's all very sort of intense. It's dark, but you can still see things, which is really nice.
Yeah, again, it kind of feels like the parts of the like the first two movies. Anyway,
and kind of talking about that for a second, it's interesting because they do replicate some shots from the first movie, but they try and flip it. Like you'll see Laurie being in spots where Michael was standing in the first
right
movie,
yeah, like that part where the ending, oh my god, the ending.
Yes. when she when you see her face come out of the darkness like Michael's did in the first movie. Or like when she's stalking the school.
I was specifically thinking of the part where she falls on the lawn. Michael like looks down and she disappeared, which is a callback to Michael disappearing on the lawn. I thought that was funny. And he really does just feel like you just can't kill him in this. Like it's ridiculous. Like they try like so much shit.
And it gets so much worse in the sequels. Like, it's actually impossible.
He really
to kill
does
him.
just not feel like a human being in this, again, which is, again, what we like about the first Halloween movie so much, where John Carpenter basically just is like, oh yeah, he's just pure evil. He's not even, like, a human being. He's not even listed in the credits as Michael Myers. He's just called The Shape,
Yeah.
And they don't quite do the whole, he's the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes monologue, but there's like one part that kind of felt like that a bit.
Mm.
And yeah, the kills, some of them are like so gory. It's ridiculous. So in a way, it does feel like more like the sequels to Halloween than the first one, because the first one, the kills aren't that. The kills are pretty tame in the first Halloween movie. But I think that they did a good job, like, capturing, like, the foreboding atmosphere that the first one had. Like, whenever
100%.
Whenever Michael shows up, it's like, oh god.
And especially with the soundtrack, because not only is it a John Carpenter soundtrack, but it is a really good John Carpenter soundtrack.
Yeah, there were parts of it that you could tell, like, that they did reuse, like, a couple tracks from the first movie, because obviously they would. I mean,
yeah.
How could you make a Halloween movie without, do 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 do? And I remember like walking around outside, like around the time I was like watching these movies and just thinking, oh god, it's that time of the season. Michael Myers might actually be out there.
So I have a piano right next to my window. Sometimes if I'm like a little drunk and it's like nighttime, I'll just turn off the light, open the window, and play the Halloween theme into the darkness just in case anyone's walking around outside.
I think I did hear like, because people have like Halloween decorations stuff. So I thought I heard some of the Halloween music while I was walking down the sidewalk one time, but I don't know. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. But yeah, some of his, again, we mentioned some of his kill. He like kills a woman with a hammer off screen and then steals a knife. And I found it so creepy too how he's just walking around and people just barely even notice him. He just blends in so well, and that's another thing that makes him so
like
scary.
The one scene that does it the best, I think, is when or that shows that the best is when all the kids are trick or treating, and you just see him walk out of the house, and it's an over the shoulder shot.
I know
of him just staring at all the kids. It is so creepy.
Those really are just some of the scariest parts of these movies. Just him.
Oh.
There's just something scary about the parts where Michael Myers just stands around and stares at people.
Yeah.
Which again, I think definitely the camera work helps with that, like, because sometimes it'll be from his point of view or like, over the shoulder, Or again, that part where he just like walks by the house, like that felt like a shot that would have been in the first movie, right there.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that part where he's like carrying the dead girl across the lawn in the first one. Which is another thing I like, that this one feels like the first movie. It seems like a lot of the sequels just did not get that right. Aside from like, and then the ones that did get that right, it's like, okay, but this feels a little bit too similar. Like Halloween 4, like, yeah, it feels like the first one, but it feels a little bit too derivative, I'll admit. And I'm even saying this.
Like, it would be really easy just to remake the first film without fully understanding why, and it just comes out as worse as a result, but it feels like they had, like, a good halfway point with this, where they incorporated enough of the elements of the first, but they had it just different enough that it worked.
What they changed up with this one was mainly what they did with Laurie Strode in this.
Yes.
Which I liked the depiction of Laurie Strode in this, because basically she is insane now.
Yes. She's like a full-blown like survival nut. She trained her kid how to survive pretty much anything. And she lives just so that she could kill Michael if he ever comes back.
Again, kind of like Sarah Connor in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
She's just fully prepared for the apocalypse, which in this case, the apocalypse is Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
And I mean, if there's any slasher villain that would be part of the apocalypse, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. And just one thing that I want to bring up real quick about Laurie, I mentioned it before, but they put her in a lot of the same scenes that you saw Michael in the first movie. She'll be standing in that same spot, basically repeating it, which I think just looks fantastic because it kind of shows that she has gotten into his mind a little bit. She kind of knows what to expect in case Michael ever comes back.
Yeah, she's like, again, she's doing target practice. It's just so funny that like years later she's preparing for Michael to show up again, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's interesting seeing just how those events just traumatized her and like affected her kids as well, because her kids don't really get along with her.
Yeah, like her daughter barely talks to her, and her granddaughter wants to, but she also kind of knows that her grandma's like a crazy old gun lady, pretty much.
And they kind of tried doing a similar thing in H2O, but in that one it just felt really soap opera-y. It just didn't really...
Yeah, and it felt more like she was trying to move on in H2O, whereas she did not move on in this
It just didn't... And also just H2O just feels like a TV movie or something. It wasn't that great of a movie.
Yeah.
With this one, it feels like they put a little more thought into it than in that one. Because again, it's like... an event like that, yeah, it probably would have this effect on somebody. I don't know if it would to this extent, but hey, I mean, it makes the movie interesting, at least. Another thing is Laurie Strode doesn't really celebrate Halloween in this. I wonder...
Makes sense.
Why. So it's kind of like Silent Night, Deadly Night in that case, you know? A little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I feel like it also leads to this great point where you kind of see like her struggles with her family relationship, and her daughter's like, "Mom, you have to stop obsessing over him." And then he does come back. And so it turns out not only was she right the whole time, but she had like a perfect plan in place to stop him if he came back.
Yeah, and it's just so funny how it like kind of comes about, because she's like listening to police dispatches so that she knows where Michael is going.
Yeah.
And basically she just has a bunch of guns and like tries shooting him and stuff. She like lures...
She has a whole arsenal. She blows off 2 of his fingers, and then like Michael's just getting the shit kicked out of him for a while in this at the very end.
She like lures him back to their house. It kind of feels like Home Alone, but if you replaced the burglars of Michael Myers and Kevin McAllister.
I think there was a Robot Chicken
Laurie
sketch
Strode
about that, actually.
What? Where Michael Myers is in Home Alone, or it's just
It's in the
villains?
Home Alone house. Hold on.
Because do they both take place in Illinois?
I think they do. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be funny. That would be okay. I can't remember if I've seen this, but I've...
And it is the 2018 movie, too, which makes it...
Oh, that's
topical.
But yeah, it kind of just turns into Home Alone, but with Michael Myers. Like, it becomes kind of switched. Like, Laurie Strode is hunting Michael Myers instead of the other way around, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And she ends up locking him in...
Of course, we know how this is going to end because he's Michael Myers. You know, like he just keeps going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Michael Myers probably could kill the Energizer Bunny. Actually, now that I think about it,
and
they like trap him. Okay, the way
the ending is so good.
They trap him in the basement. They leak some gas into it and drop a flare in there. Basically, they try killing Michael in sort of a similar way to the second movie.
Yeah.
Where they basically just try burning him up.
They just try and burn him alive in the basement. And honestly, I really like the shot of Michael staring up from the flames. I think that part actually looked pretty cool, but of course it doesn't work.
No, nothing phases him. The dude just has no
expression. He's not in pain.
I know. He's just this cold, unfeeling monster, literally, at this point. It's really crazy how they managed to make an interesting villain where literally his only motive is just kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, like, he has no other reason for wanting to come back to Haddonfield than just killing more people.
What was that when Kyle Reese is, like, talking about the Terminator?
Oh, yeah.
What was that quote? Shit, it was like, it can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, it doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead.
Yeah.
That's basically Michael Myers. He's not even a man, he's a machine. At this point. Oh boy. But yeah, that ending is just, it's absurd.
It's so over the
no
top.
matter what
this
they
other
do,
shot.
no matter what these people do, they just can't get rid of Michael Myers. That's how it always ends in these movies. Like, because you get to, they burn him up, they like shoot him a bunch, they burn him up.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't even slow him down. Like, he just gets right back into it within, like, the opening 5 minutes of the next movie.
Was he, like, possessed by, like, some kind of demonic force or something while he was at that asylum? Like, what happened? Like, oh my god.
And another thing that I really like in the lead up to that final scene is Laurie turns on these massive floodlights around her house.
Yeah.
So that no matter what, she can see where Michael's coming through. But just the shot of her daughter's husband, so I guess her son-in-law's body, just lying in the yard while everything is super brightly lit was pretty cool.
Hell yeah, Laurie was definitely prepared for this to happen again.
Yeah, she was not playing around.
We didn't really talk about the other characters, because there's some other characters in this. Like, the movie starts with these two podcasters. Just, they're trying to figure out, like, more about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode.
Yeah, like they're doing an episode on basically the 1978 movie.
Yeah.
And he makes a weird
so they're
comment
like
too,
us,
like the podcast host.
They're kind of like us, because we did a podcast on the 1978 movie. Oh boy.
They had this weird... He made this weird comment, the podcaster host, because he said that he was able to borrow Michael's mask from the Attorney General. Why? That's like evidence in a crime. Why would he be able to just take it?
They must be a really popular podcast then, in that case. Like,
it had to have been, because, like, I don't see any other way he would have been allowed to just take evidence with him.
But of course that didn't work, because then Michael Myers just killed them in a bathroom and stole the mask back.
And then there's sort of our Loomis replacement.
Yeah. He's
Dr. Sartain.
They say he's like this. He was a student of Dr. Loomis, because Loomis died at some point in depending on which one you watched. Like, he either died in the second movie or sometime after Curse of Michael Myers. Like, that's
but even that's debatable.
That ending was
that was a bad ending. That whole movie was just awful. That sixth one.
Yeah, Michael Myers' student. That'd be scary if Michael Myers had a student. Dr. Loomis has a student who's also a psychiatrist. He's basically just Dr. Loomis, but Donald Pleasance is dead, so they can't have Dr. Loomis in the movie.
And for whatever reason, they make him evil.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because, like, his whole thing is he intentionally released Michael so he could watch him kill other people, so he could better understand Michael. It's a weird plot point.
If we were do psychiatrists count as scientists?
Yeah, I think he would count for evil scientist.
Could we fit, if we were going to do the award show again, could he fit into the worst scientist award category?
Oh, probably. I don't think he'd win, but he'd at least fit into the category.
Yeah, he has to compete against Dr. Voller from Dial Destiny, so yeah. You're basically talking, okay, murder, directly responsible for murdering a few people in a town versus a Nazi, so genocide. But, okay,
A Nazi rocket scientist who doesn't know about plate tectonics.
plate tectonics, yeah, kind of all drift. But yeah, but for most of the movie, I don't even remember this character's name. For most of it, he's just giving exposition. Sartain, okay.
Yeah, because I think they wanted it to sound like Satan almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something. And I found a few of the things he mentioned interesting. He's talking about how over 50 psychologists have seen Michael Myers with differing opinions, which...
How many different opinions can you have on the man?
And also, this is talking about a guy who hasn't talked in like 40 years and doesn't have emotions. So I don't know how you're able to read anything from that, but okay. And he does mention that he can talk, that he just refuses to, which brings up a number of questions. Like, okay, so because he talked as a kid, I guess, as it's revealed in some of the other movies.
Because I think they mention, I don't know if I'm confusing this with the Rob Zombie movie, but he talked until he was a certain age and then he shut up.
I guess he just stopped talking at some point. Or if he does talk, but just nobody's around to hear it. Like, oh wait, we do know what he sounds like. Haven't you seen that Slash Street Boys video?
That's right. He can sing.
He's actually the best singer of the Slash Street Boys, in my opinion. Although Jason's a pretty good singer as well. I really like Every Life I Take. Every life I take. Every neck I break, I'll be stalking you, I think is how it goes. Anyway. I do find it funny that towards the beginning, Michael Myers is kind of just dressed like how Hannibal Lecter is in Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah. So I want to make sure he doesn't kill people.
I'm surprised they didn't have, like, that, mask.
Oh, like the mouth guard thing on?
Yeah, whatever that thing is, yeah. And the way the asylum is set up is weird. So, like, they have everyone outside.
And they're chained to, like, a 3x3 squares on the roof.
They're like, that was on the... Oh, that was a roof? I didn't realize that.
It looked like it was on the roof. It was weird.
But either way, they're like just... They're just being weighed down... And just... They're all just standing around, which that just seems like a terrible idea. Well, like, what if they, like, try antagonizing each other or something? Yeah.
Well, they're all kept pretty far apart in their thing. Like, they're given, like, a small bit to walk around and then a huge gap between the next people.
Yes, yeah. It's weird. And then they, like, go insane when they show,
The mask.
Yeah. That's when, like, the credits start. And the credits, they look like the credits from the original movie, except it shows a jack-o'-lantern re-healing, so it's like, oh, Michael Myers is back. And so is Jack, apparently. Yeah, they're just these two people with a true crime podcast. They call themselves investigative journalists, which
not really.
You're just two douchebags with a podcast. Like us, we're just two douchebags with a podcast.
Wait, are you saying that I can call myself an investigative journalist?
I
I've made some episodes on Michael Myers.
Have you? Yeah, we have. We technically have. Because Michael Myers is real, right? I mean,
Oh, 100%. He was in a couple movies. He played Shrek.
yeah, movies are real, right? I mean, you know, haven't you seen Star Wars? I mean, that's just a documentary about another galaxy, you know? Or like Jurassic Park, like, oh my god. Haven't you seen Halloween 3? Dang. Where it's clearly shown in that movie that Halloween is a documentary. Anyway. Yeah, these two journalists, they tried to meet Laurie Strode. She doesn't seem to be happy about this. I can't imagine why. As mentioned, she's twice divorced and doesn't have a good relationship with her granddaughters. So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't pick up on the part where they said she was twice divorced. Huh. Maybe that's what the fourth movie will be in like 3 years. It'll be her other families getting attacked by Michael Myers.
Maybe, yeah. Or it'll be a prequel or something. And even though Dr. Loomis, he doesn't technically appear in this one, but you do hear his voice. I don't know if it was... I think it was just somebody that sounded like Donald Pleasance.
I think so, because they do a similar thing in Halloween Kills, but the guy in Halloween Kills sounds almost nothing like Loomis.
Yeah, but in this one it sounded kind of like it. So that was making me wonder if maybe
this one sounded pretty good.
Maybe it was an AI or something, or maybe it was like they could have just done a thing where they took like old audio recordings of Donald Pleasance and used that, but I'm not sure what they did here.
Yeah.
But it's basically he's talking about how he wants Michael Myers to be executed and wants to witness it himself because, of course. It's funny that the people who know Michael Myers the best are the ones that hate him the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Back to the Future Part 2 pinball machine in this.
Oh.
That was fun to see. I think that was when we first see Will Patton's character. He's like, I think he's playing on the machine or something. I like how after Michael Myers kills the two podcasts, he just takes his mask back out of the trunk.
Yeah.
I guess he just knew where it was. So, anyway.
Well, he knows everything, apparently. Like how to drive. I feel like that's a little less egregious than him just knowing how to drive.
He might just be like some kind of like ethereal being at this point.
Actually, in theory, he hadn't been able to drive for the past 40 years. How did he remember how to do that?
I don't know. Somebody at that asylum was letting him practice. Again, I don't know.
These asylum runners are too liberal with who they let drive, apparently.
Fuck's sake. I mean, hey, he's got a very persuasive voice, so of course they had to let him drive. Yeah. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe Michael Myers just off screen. He's just like plotting with a bunch of other people. Like maybe it's like in Hot Fuzz where there's just a bunch of people in like these costumes running around killing like Oh boy. How could I possibly be in two places at once? Let's see. Where was I? Of course, it's a Halloween movie, so there's a babysitter in this.
That dies.
Yeah. Oh, that was. Oh, God, yeah, that scene. Jesus Christ. Where they're like.
Yeah.
This kid, like, he thinks he sees the boogeyman, so the babysitter goes and checks. And it turns out Michael Myers is just hiding in the closet and he just stabs her. Yeah, that was a...
Honestly, that closet scene is pretty good because she goes to close the door and then it doesn't close, so you just know that he's standing there blocking the door.
I know. Yeah, it's so creepy.
I will say though, when Michael Myers comes out of the closet and stabs the babysitter, the kid just jumps up, yells, "Oh shit," and runs away. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, there were some weird attempts at humor in this. I might get to it later in the when we talk about that. You kind of tell that this was done by people that were known for doing comedies primarily.
Yeah.
You know. One thing I thought was funny is that they're... I don't know if you noticed this, but on the TV they're showing Repo Man.
Yeah.
And it's the part where the guy like opens the trunk, he gets vaporized into a skeleton. Have you seen Repo Man? Or
I've seen I think a clip or two from it. Cause I've been meaning to watch that, and then what's it called? Warriors?
The Warriors? Yeah, that's a good one.
Warriors.
That's a good movie, actually. The Warriors.
Play.
That's a Joe Walsh song. It plays at the end credits. But yeah, I enjoy Repo Man's a very weird movie. That might make a good podcast, actually. But yeah, it's the part where the guy gets vaporized into a skeleton, and that kind of made me think of Mars Attacks again, because, well...
Vaporizing.
Those crazy Martians. And I like that this one actually takes place on Halloween, so we get to see a lot of costumes, which is nice, you know.
And it looks like some people are dressed up in the masks from Halloween 3, which was kind of...
Yeah, that was an interesting Easter egg. Thankfully, they don't play that stupid commercial in this, you know, just...
3 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
Oh my god, yeah, everybody would have died if they did that.
Shamrock.
Then it would be the night no one comes home.
The night no one comes home again.
Again? Wait, if they all died, how were they able to come home again? Oh, speaking of coming home again, we see teenagers having sex at one point.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen to them.
They live, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like Jason is in this movie. He can't handle premarital sex.
Yeah, our favorite moral crusader, Jason Voorhees.
Oh, it's too bad he never ran for president, you know? If anybody hasn't seen it, there's this Clickhole article about Jason as a presidential candidate. Go read it. It's hilarious. It was from, 2020, I think, but anyway. Oh, it's that part where that... There's that part where that kid, strikes out with this girl that he's following home, and then he encounters Michael Myers. This part I actually thought was pretty funny, where he asks Michael Myers, "Have you ever really liked a girl and just couldn't have her?" And I was like, well... Kind of.
I was laughing my ass off. Just the kid info dumping at Michael, and Michael's just standing there.
That's what he does. I mean, he's Michael Myers. And I mean, yeah, Michael Myers, there have been a few occasions where he chased after a girl and couldn't get her.
True.
But yeah, do you have anything else to add to the...
Probably not to pros. I think I'm ready to move on to cons.
I am too, yeah. Okay. There's really not a ton of plot to this. Granted, it's a Halloween movie.
It's mostly just an excuse to bring back Michael Myers and kill people.
Which is fine to do once, but the fact they made more of these, it's kind of just like, okay, we're kind of over this. And granted, they do kind of try to do something different in the next two, but we'll get around to it. Some of the humor was just kind of out of place, I thought. Like, there was one line where I was like, what? Why is this in there?
There's a lot of lines like that.
But the one in particular that I'm like, why would you include that in here? Where this guy says, I got peanut butter on my penis.
Can I talk about that character for a second?
I guess.
They try and make him like this weird, quirky, funny character, and he just has all these terrible lines. Like, just before that, he's like throwing a rat trap underneath his sink, and he has this line. Hang on a second, I wrote it down. He's like, "Oh, you want to shit under my sink? I'll murder you and your whole family."
I'll murder you and your whole family. That's not.
That's
not as bad as
so
I got
weird.
I got penis on the peanut
but
butter.
it's the same scene though. It's like 2 lines later. He's just like this all the time.
The line. There are some lines in this. It's just they just didn't feel natural. I mean, come on.
And I gotta say, what a waste of foreshadowing. They could have made Michael Myers shit under this guy's sink, and then come out and kill him.
Kill his whole family.
Yeah. They should put me in charge of the next scary movie. I've got my one scene down for it.
Oh boy, maybe we should just do like a Halloween parody or something. Like we could just write a bunch.
We just take that line, throw it in there just for that joke later.
Or no, movie. Wait! I just realized there already is a Halloween parody movie. It's called Halloween Ends.
You're not wrong.
Okay, so
there's also these 2 cops in the film that are talking about banh mi sandwiches for like a solid 3 or 4 minutes straight, with nothing else really happening in that scene.
What sandwiches?
Banh mi sandwiches. They're like the Vietnamese sandwich.
I think I remember that scene. That was there were like some scenes that kind of felt like
they spent so long talking about it.
It felt like there were some scenes that was like they're like, okay, just improv some weird stuff here, and we'll try to make it work in the editing. And yeah, there's kind of this weird slump somewhere around like the middle of the movie, I noticed.
Yeah.
Which is probably where stuff like that started happening. The high school characters in this, they're kind of boring.
Yeah. That was my next point, yeah.
Then again, the ones in the older movies weren't that interesting either, so...
And they had some weird lines, too.
There were less of them, at least, in the other movies. Like, here, it kind of felt like there were... It felt like there were just too many characters in this. They didn't need to have that many characters.
They did not learn the lesson for the next movie.
No, definitely not. But we'll get to that. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
So on the point of those high school students, the kid that's like info dumping on Michael Myers, at one point he's got this weird line where he's like, "They're feeding me guacamole in all sorts of sexy ways."
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was.
Who wrote that line? That
was a strange line. Yeah. There were some weird. There were some weird choices here and there, but yeah, I mean,
you want to hear what my biggest?
Is it any wonder that these guys? Was? Is it any wonder that this guy couldn't make an Exorcist movie to save his life? Sorry, what were
you? You want to know what my biggest con for the movie was?
What?
I looked this movie up on Netflix, and it did not show up. So I went and rented the movie on Amazon.
It is on Netflix,
As soon as I finished, I hopped back onto Netflix, and it popped up saying just added. In the time I watched this.
It's been on Netflix.
It's on it now.
It's been on there a while though. I know actually because it's been in my
Has it?
queue. It's been in my queue for like a month.
I typed in Halloween into the search bar and it wasn't there.
That's weird.
I swear.
Because I swear it's been on there for a while now.
I swear it has the just added thing on it.
It was just added, but it was like just added like weeks ago. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's been on there a while though. At this point, I know it was. I knew before we recorded that it was on there,
It just didn't show up for me then until
which was
after,
convenient because
but-
I was like, okay, I don't have to like pirate it. Because I had to pirate the next. I have to pirate the next one, Halloween Ends, and I pirated Halloween Kills. So yeah, that's weird. I mean, you could have just bought the Blu-ray of it. I mean, you already have the Blu-ray of Halloween 6, and this is a better movie.
True. I'm thinking about getting one for Halloween Ends, but that's a discussion for later.
I kind of want... You know what? We should look at, like, the special features of that and see, like, what were they thinking? Because I kind of want to know,
Who was
like...
in charge?
What was the... But again, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
I think that was like all my big points for the first Halloween.
I have a few more things. A bunch of people trying to tell Laurie Strode to get over it. I mean, that's kind of insensitive, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
But a bigger con. Who the hell names their kid Lumpy?
That feels like child abuse.
Well, besides Chewbacca in the Star Wars Holiday Special, but we're not going to talk about that. Like Fight Club, because we don't talk about it. And I know that there's no way around it now, but I really miss having Dr. Loomis in these movies.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I've mentioned before, he's part of what made the older Halloween movies so enjoyable to me, you know, because I love Donald Pleasance, and that character really, mainly in the first two movies, but he really did a good job of selling, like, just how evil Michael Myers is, because it felt like every movie you needed some monologue about how evil Michael Myers is, and he was the man for the job, but... And yeah, I know it's unavoidable that you can't have Loomis because Donald Pleasance is dead. But having a Loomis-like character in this did not help matters. So
no,
it just every time he was on screen, I was distracted because I'm like, I know that was supposed to be Dr. Loomis originally, but they can't have him back. So yeah.
They could have just brought back Malcolm McDowell and pretended like he was Loomis in this universe.
Could have brought back who? Did you say Roddy McDowell?
No, Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm McDowell. Okay, Malcolm McDowell. I thought you said Roddy McDowell, because I'm like, Roddy McDowell's dead too, man. Or maybe not. Maybe he's a vampire. Maybe in Fright Night he got turned into a vampire in real life. So, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, overall thoughts. Again, it's one of the better Halloween sequels.
Yeah.
It's a decent continuation of the John Carpenter movie. It's so weird to word it like that, because, you know, it's not perfect, but it has what you want from a Michael Myers movie.
Yeah.
It's nice seeing a movie where you can take Michael Myers seriously again. Feels like it's been a while since that, and it's also one of the few sequels where Laurie Strode gets something interesting to do, so there's that as well, because Halloween 2, she's just in a hospital for most of it. Halloween Kills, she's just in a hospital for most of it.
They like putting Laurie Strode in a hospital.
And we don't talk about Halloween Resurrection, H2O. She doesn't. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, again, I wish Loomis were in it, but overall, I think they did a decent job. It has its problems, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that, or?
Soundtrack is fantastic again. Thanks to John Carpenter and his associates. If I were to recommend that, like, you only watch 2 Halloween movies, because obviously you need to watch the original above everything else. But if you were to watch a second one, this one would be a pretty good one to watch, I think.
Yeah. And maybe some people would be like, "Oh, the only one you should watch is Halloween 3." Weirdos. But I don't know. Maybe Halloween 3 is kind of a weird oddity. Maybe you should see it and make up your own mind about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never known how to feel about that movie. Okay, I'm gonna get some more water, actually. My throat is gonna kill me if I don't.
No, I need some water, too. Be back in a minute.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.